All right, so thank you everyone for being here. Drew, Julia, Vanessa, thank you for finding the time to join us. So we have a very interesting company today presenting itself. They participate for the very first time. When I first met Lars and learned about his company, I thought it just something like, like just another Discord or WhatsApp. Turns out it's a very different company. So it uses the big data and the artificial intelligence to not only provide a place where people can chat, but also uses the smart technology to promote chatting, which is a very important function because, again, in XCulture, we did some research where we provided students with a discussion board, and turns out it's not enough to simply give the students the platform. Sometimes they just, you build it and they don't show up. And so here, Differ may do it differently in a way that actually promotes discussion. And so we will ask Lars today to do a quick introduction of his company. But importantly, those of you in the audience, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A window at any time. And we will ask them as we go. Better yet, just raise your hand. You have a button somewhere on the bottom of your screen that looks like a raised hand, and we will add you to our chat room, and you can engage with the speaker directly. And so thank you everyone again here.
Please do that. I love that direct interaction.
Yes, exactly. I promote that too. So let's see how many people show up, and if we can invite them all, but at the very least, if you have a question, you can just type it, but even better, just join us and talk to us. So Lars, the floor is yours, maybe for a quick introduction.
Okay, excellent. So first of all, thanks for joining the webinar here today. I've really looked forward to get the chance to meet some of you participants in the XCulture project. It seems like a great opportunity to learn and get some practical experience about international collaboration. And for us as a small scale startup, it's a great opportunity to get some insights about how students are experiencing the transition to university. So the name of the company is Differ, or Differ.Chat, if you'd like. And we are working together with universities to improve the student community and see how we can help strengthen the relationships and the culture of the student community. And really the purpose is to empower students to not be uniformed and be the same, but instead be different and make a difference. So I'm really curious throughout the project here and together with all of you to get some insights about the student experience in universities across the world. And obviously there's also more company targets of growth, and for that purpose we need to understand some of the market dynamics in different countries around the world, to see what type of solutions is there today for socializing and getting to know other people when starting university. So that is kind of one of the core jobs that we help students with is to break the ice for conversations with people that you don't know yet, but that they might turn out to be your future best friend or a study buddy or a community member in the same university community. I might start. How long should I kind of start, you think, Vas?
Well, as I said, we do already have a bunch of questions for you, so we can go to those soon, but it's probably best if you provide a general overview of the product itself a little bit, so that we know what it is. So I have an idea, and I suppose people read a little bit about the product in the brief that you provided.
Yeah.
But it might be a good idea to explain, what the product itself is, and perhaps how is it different from the main competitor, so to speak. And then we'll probably just
show
cover
that
the questions
real quickly as well.
Let me please make you, Lars, a co-host, so you will be able to share your screen.
Great. So first, I can just mention that just personal introduction. I'm Lars. I'm the CEO of the company. I'm 38, and I live in Oslo, in Norway.
Are you originally from Norway, or you just?
I'm actually Swedish, so I immigrated to Norway, the neighboring country here, 10 years ago.
So sorry to distract you, but that thing behind you there, is that one of those Dutch wooden shoes, or is it something different? No, it's no. Okay, yeah.
It's totally different. It's just,
yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it looked like one of those guys. Yeah, I thought maybe you have like a Dutch connection there. So no, my apologies. It just looked different. Okay. So you're Swedish, but you're in Norway. Okay.
Yes, that's right. And I think you definitely can call me an entrepreneur. And I've been working in the area of education for soon 10 years. I way back, I started a music game company. And that was the entry point into education, an app to help kids learn to play different kinds of instruments. But I moved on, and I've been working many years with digital assessments, helping the shift from paper and pen assessments to computer-based assessments. But now I found this opportunity with Differ a couple of years ago, and it's super motivating to work with a potential of stronger social inclusion at universities, and helping really students find friends and build a stronger community. So this mission is something that is really motivating, especially this last year or two now, when we experienced COVID, all of us. Now everyone knows what it feels like to be isolated and feel lonely. And in Norway, even before COVID, we learned that 1/3 of students say that they feel lonely or isolated, either often or all the time. And then when we look abroad, we see similar reports coming up in big news outlets, that there's a global loneliness epidemic. So this loneliness and social isolation has become a very important issue for many students and universities. So what we did was we started to explore how social media works, how communication platforms work. And we had the chance of doing large experiments together with the universities and large groups of students. And we looked at what happens when you throw 5,000 students into Slack or Microsoft Teams, which are popular chat platforms. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are starting to chat with everyone just magically. It turns out there's many psychosocial barriers that kind of are stopping your engagement.
Lars, my apology. It seems like we lost your video, and I'm not sure if you're trying to show the slides or.
No, it looks like it turned off. Can you see me again?
Yeah, we see you. Yes, we see you. But yeah, I wasn't sure if you were.
I haven't turned it. No, I'm not sharing anything yet. But yeah, so basically, students are not feeling psychologically safe in their online communities, and therefore they are disengaging from new connections. So that's why we're exploring how we better can help students connect with each other and make new friends. You can, I'm gonna start sharing my screen here in a second and show you Differ. So Differ is, you can call it a social platform for students. It's not for anyone else, it's only for students. And this is a place where universities can set up new communities. And in these different communities, you can create public topics where everyone can engage, but you also have your private messaging area, which would be similar to WhatsApp and Facebook groups. And for many universities, they are not actually allowed to use WhatsApp and Facebook groups because of legal constraints. So this becomes a social platforms that universities actually can buy and trust, and enable students in their communities to start connecting with each other without the hassle of joining so many different WhatsApp groups. So this is becoming kind of the university safe space for students to connect with each other when they join. So the entry point is really students that are about to join, and they get invited maybe a week or two before first day at campus. So I'm really curious to hear if there's anyone that might want to share their own experience starting university, and if you can relate to what I'm sharing here about the situation that we see in some of the Norwegian and European universities. But let me just introduce you to a fellow here that we call Bo. So Bo is a chatbot, and not just any chatbot that is responding to frequently asked questions, but Bo just loves to get to know students and introduce them to each other. So what you see here to the left is an option to have Bo connect you with someone else in the community. So you can simply opt in to getting matched and be invited to an icebreaking session. So it's basically a very, it's a fun and low barrier way to start connecting. Like comparing to a WhatsApp group, first of all, you might have to share your phone number with 500 other strangers in this situation, which you might not be comfortable doing. So that stops you from joining in the first place. But then you can't just scroll through the list and start sending private messages. That's a behavior that we see here in Europe. Is not. It seems a little bit awkward to just randomly connect. But in this context, you both have kind of showed your intention that I'm open for new connections, and I give Bo the job of connecting me with other students that are also intrigued by that. So, and once you do that, in this case, you can be matched with, I just set up some examples here, and if you become a member of the XCulture global community, you can be connected with anyone of the participants in the entire XCulture network. But you could also, for example, get connected with someone else from Norway or some of the other participants from this specific year. So that's just an innovative approach to breaking the ice. And once Bo find a connection, let me see if I have a good example. So once Bo find a connection, in this case, he finds someone else that was named Lars. So it was a bit of fun. And first of all, Bo show you what you have in common. And what the next step is that it provides you a conversation starter. And in this specific one, the conversation starter would be, do you have an opinion that not everyone shares with you? Or what is the one thing that everyone loves but you hate, or the other way around?
So Lars, so Bo doesn't pretend to be a human, so you know that it's a bot, right?
Exactly.
So And then in this case, the bot talks to you only, so, or can it engage it like a whole group of people at the same time?
Yeah, so no, so in this case, it's 2 students and both.
So it's 2 students and then both facilitates that discussion, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible, again, I'm trying to be a little bit selfish here, but as I said, we had this situation. So 2 semesters ago, we wanted to conduct an experiment and see if allowing students in XCulture to communicate with people from other teams, if that's going to lead to better quality reports. So our hypothesis was that when teams talk to one another, they will produce better results because, you know, maybe you say something that gives me an idea, maybe I get some feedback on my idea. And so this way, even though we are competitors, but if we talk, everybody sort of comes up with better and better ideas. We kind of build upon those discussions.
Yeah, and
so
that's the cool thing about Differ, is that you can facilitate both the private, small scale, one-to-one or group chats, and the community discussions.
Yeah,
so,
but the challenge we had was that, so we built, I think we used a Discord plugin. So we created a chat room for all whatever 1,000 students we had at that time on XCulture's website. And the biggest challenge we had, nobody was commenting or participating. So we were trying to engage them, you know, basically provided the platform, sent reminders. There were a few students who like posted a couple of questions, but there was really no lively discussion.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if Bo in that case could have been, you know, helpful to sort of engage, you know, to kind of spark that initial discussion.
Yeah, let me show you one innovative approach to facilitate those group discussions. And that would be that we have, if you flip this button here, you become an educator, and then you have a couple of new options. So basically you could try this one, split students into small groups. And similarly, then you could have all the students working with a similar case in a community. And then you can break up the group of 500 students into groups of 5. And you can encourage, and then you can start with an informal conversation starter just to get everyone warm and socialize and get to know each other a little bit. And then and then you would
it does it automatically, like I don't have to drag everyone one by one into those groups, right? It will automatically. Yeah.
It would be click a button and students get a notification on their phone that they have a new private message. So it turns out this is a very effective way of communicating with students in a messaging format compared to what many universities do. They are still on emails trying to engage students.
Yeah.
And so there's, but it's important to highlight the position for Differ, and the primary position for Differ is an informal social platform for students to connect with other students and to get to know each other. Then a secondary user case might be what you explain here, Vas, as an educator. I want my students to chat with each other. But that it doesn't always go hand in hand to do those two things in the same platform. Yeah. So that's why the informal social position of Differ is important to stress. Yeah.
Well, a related sort of challenge for us also in the XCulture Academy track. So we have about 1,000 applicants, children, well, teenagers, 16, 17-year-olds. And so we did create for them a group in Discord and a group on Facebook. And luckily we have several coaches who are constantly engaging those students so that they're communicating among themselves as they're preparing for the project. So they always ask some interesting questions. So there is a good discussion going on. But again, it seems to me that with this bot here, it might be even easier to do. And so while the students are going through 4 weeks of preparation for the for the project, unlike the university students that we just play them in teams right away, the teenagers have to complete training. And so keeping them engaged during that phase is always a challenge for us. And so your tool might be an interesting solution to that problem or to that challenge.
So, so just to finish up the demo a little bit, and I would love perhaps take a break in the presentation style and rather open up for some questions. But let me just show you as well this section here called Discover. And this is basically giving you the opportunity of chatting with everyone that you share a community with directly without having to share your phone number or adding each other on social media. So, and this is possible because the university is kind of the one inviting and therefore creating a safe space for students to start chatting with each other. And the safe space is especially important in the phase when students are about to start. I think many of you might relate to the stress and anxiety and having a lot of questions about what is it like at university? Will I fit in? Will I find a friend? There's so many concerns, and establishing that psychological safety in online environments is super important. Okay, so I think I'll stop there, and perhaps we could start with if there's any questions around the application. So that might be a logical bridge to questions here.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if many of the questions are more about the business side.
Yeah.
Like, for example, one of the questions I have, if I may, so what's the revenue model?
Let's try to open up for the participants here.
Okay, all right, okay.
We had received one question right now from Rohit. He asked about why you keep invite model only. If it's possible to implement the allowing to sign up via university organization email ID, because Rohit thinks that it is much user friendly, not by invitation, but for university ID. What do you think about it?
Yeah, great idea, and thanks for pointing that out. I would love to learn more about the context that you live in, and how that it might be different from where you are and here. But I think the part of the value that we provide to students and to the university is to establish a community and a sense of belonging. That's kind of the ultimate outcome. And for that value to be created for students, we need a certain mass of students to join at a similar point in time, so that there's a minimum level of engagement, not only in private chats, but also in the community areas. So I think the alternative would be if we have that anyone can join at any point of time, then we would rely on private messaging being and Bo facilitating really good connections without having that foundation of enough students from the same university. So that is kind of the current logic behind it, but I'm really open to other models as well.
I have one question related. So for the ad and from the user way, do any user can block another user and maybe report some issues? Is it possible in an application? So if somebody in conversation have some problems some bullying or any other issues, user can report those issues to anybody?
So there's normally a moderator or a community manager that is active in the community. So at the current stage, we haven't focused on those functionality of the app, but it's something that we would like to add shortly. But the current method of reporting someone would be to send a message to the community manager.
Got it. So let's start maybe with questions that we had received via email before the meeting. And one of the first from Dr. Taras, he just left us for another meeting. Sorry about that. But his question was, what your revenue model right now?
Yeah. So the revenue model is basically that the university is paying a license fee for a software as a service, so that if they want to invite 2,000 students to Differ and build that community, that would be a license for 2,000.
So the license is counting on every person that can be invited, yeah? And it depends, the price depends on the number of the students who can be invited to the Differ, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And if maybe some group of students want to use the Differ, but maybe pay like a personal fee, do this possible way to use the Differ?
So we do have a free version, which can be used for smaller communities with up to 200 students. There are some restrictions of that free solution, but yeah, that's how we operate today.
Got it. Thank you. Maybe Vanessa or Dhruv have.
I was going to ask if I could jump in.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I am currently a university student, and one of the things I love is making new friends. And I love Differ just because I usually have to reach out, and it's kind of awkward going down the list and emailing people and being like, hi, how are you? So it's amazing that Bo can facilitate that conversation here. I wanted to ask you, I know that you mentioned that, around the world, we've been seeing this pandemic where students are not feeling confident or feeling anxious going back to school here. Are there any other social, political, or economical factors that you see as a pattern that makes Differ very successful in the area that you're working with currently?
I think what comes to mind is what universities describe as their in Europe they call it their widening participation agenda.
Okay.
So that means that universities are trying to make their communities more diverse and recruit students that might not come straight from high school. They might come from different cultural backgrounds. They might be first in their family to go to university. So many of these students might feel feelings of being in a minority or not feeling as comfortable at university, and perhaps being challenged in the transition phase, going from their safe home to perhaps moving to a different city or different country and figuring everything out. So these subset of students are especially important for Differ to support.
Right, no, absolutely.
So one example is with the University of Leeds in the UK, and we started working with their lifelong learning department, and that is supporting all their mature students coming back to university later in life. So we managed to build a peer community, and students reported that because of Differ, and the interaction they had with peers, they felt 55% said that they felt a stronger sense of belonging. So that's kind of the ideal outcome for different projects there.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Talking about numbers, sorry for interrupting you guys. Do you conduct any market researchers? And if so, what kind of researchers? How do you do it? And do you hire any external companies to collect your data, or you do it yourself? So we are talking about percents and so on. How do you count in on this?
Percent of...
And percent of persons who Differ makes happier, like you told us before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're trying to get better and better data on our impact, and I think so far this project did provide the most reliable indicator of impact. So 55% of students, yeah, felt that we could provide a stronger sense of belonging. But we're getting a bunch of feedback there. So it's definitely not for all students. Some might be just tired of everything online. We're just skipping everything virtual. Just I go to campus and I'll bump into some people and go to the student pub and see what happens. So there's but I think there's a big group of people now that are familiar with social media and perhaps even matchmaking apps. There's friend making apps. And I mean, in romance, there's all these matchmaking sites where you start connecting with random people that you never met before. So I think it's becoming a more household concept of connecting with strangers. In terms of market research, I would say that we work in research partnerships with universities currently across Europe, but also other universities are involved. For example, with Cambridge, they're involved in some of our research. So we together with them, we try to learn about cultural and social things. But no, we're not outsourcing market research yet. But I hope that many of you can help us learn even more about different markets around the world.
And just hopping on about the market aspect here, is there any specific market that Differ is interested in out of, there's a variety of markets. You got the whole world as an international social platform. Is there any area where you have that piqued interest?
I think right now the UK is our kind of core market, even though we're from Norway. It's such a small market, so we rather make UK or Europe our home market, so to speak. But Europe is really fragmented in many different languages and stuff like that, so it's a bit tricky. So therefore UK is kind of our primary market, but it's available for anyone to start using. So it's really possible to implement it anywhere. And it's not a massive implementation project. So we don't necessarily need a big support and project team in each country to start working with a different market. But that said, Australia is really interesting for us, because I heard that the academic year starts in January, I think. So currently our business is a little bit seasonal. That means that most universities start at the same time. And that means that our sales period is somewhat seasonal as well. So if we can get a foothold in Australia, then we have 2 seasons per year instead of 1. Yeah, that's a quick response.
I have a question from boss student, and he is asking like, if you can go back in time and start the business again, how will you do it differently this time?
Oh, that's a really good question. What someone asked before about the invite only setup, that's actually something that is really intriguing to me. Is could we provide a similar service and a similar value to students directly rather than going through the university? That's at least a question that I would really think about if I were to start things over. I think something that it took the company quite some time to understand how important it is with the first conversation you have with someone, whoever that is in the same situation as yourself when you start university. So I think if I would start again, then I would go straight to that focus area, and skip all that academic discussions and never allow a teacher into Differ. So I think sometimes they can kind of, when they try to facilitate communities, they just get in the way.
It becomes such a formal space once a teacher enters it. Everyone's a little more professional. I wanted to ask, I know that you were just talking about seasonal, and this is the reason why I thought about this, but I wanted to ask about your retention levels. So I know that within the first week, usually, everyone is trying to interact with one another, being a part of the community, engaging. How long does that last before you see sort of a dip in sort of engagement? And have you guys done anything to increase that engagement once more and retain all your members?
Yeah, it's a good question. And from a business perspective, it's quite important to distinguish if we are kind of setting how we set the expectations, right? Both for the students and for the university. So I think our current value proposition is that our job is to improve your student onboarding. So after a month, the job is done in a way. Because what we learned is that once students have established initial contacts with each other and start building that relationship, they want to go to a different app. They want to go to their preferred private space where they hang out with their friends. So our job is to connect, kind of create the safe space to start the connection as a starting platform, but then everyone will shift over to Snapchat or WhatsApp or kind of their preferred messaging app. So I don't think we can really replace that, but rather try to stimulate. The primary role is to have students connect in the first place. But in terms of retention, we do have pretty good, what the industry are looking at is like 1 day retention. How many students are actually like what they see and come back the next day? And also 1 week retention. So students are coming back to Differ, both for connecting, but also just check out what's happening in the community. So I think that is a strength to have both of those spaces, both private messaging and the community space.
You know, I love that Differ acts as that onboarding moments. I know that for me, even right now, university is about to start in just about a week for me. And I am having all my friends and friends of friends texting, like, I'm so anxious about going back. I don't know anyone. And I know that Differ is going to make that needed difference. And I've seen sort of the statistic that you guys put up and the big difference that it's made. So I'm really grateful for that. I know that you have some partnerships with some universities. Some of them are on the research base end. I was wondering, how were you able to get in contact with these universities? How were those relationships established? How did they, how did you convince them that Differ was that needed difference in their community?
Yeah. So I think this has really been a journey, and we're still kind of figuring things out. Universities are really big organizations. So there's so many different departments and so many different managers and stakeholders that are involved in different things. And we used to be kind of a course communication platform, focusing on the teacher-student engagement. So we have moved away from that academic focus and kind of connecting with individual teachers and program managers, but rather trying to find employees working in student support in different roles. And it's primarily doing the customer research, checking out their websites, of finding the right people. Most of the time there's an employee directory with different roles, and then it's often to email them or call them and ask for a reference to the right one to speak to. And yeah, so it's often it used to be looking for the ones responsible for orientation week, or it's called induction week, or freshers week in the UK. Those who are responsible for welcoming all the new students, basically. And what we learned recently is we need to narrow that down even more. So what I mentioned with the University of Leeds, those who are responsible for subset of students, for example, mature students or underrepresented groups of students. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. One final comment on the kind of go-to-market strategy is that Differ has worked a lot through research projects, and Differ is currently leading a European-wide project around the use of chatbots in higher education. And we're providing some free resources to universities that they can start using to just learn more and explore. So that's a great way for us to kind of get a foot in the door and start building the relationship with some of the stakeholders in the universities.
Absolutely. I love how Differ has such a holistic and whole approach. It is so refreshing to see you come in and try and partner with universities and offering that chat research. I'm going to jump back to a previous question I asked, only because we have someone in the question box here asking a question. One of the question was, this is about the market. I know you have an interest in Australia, which is so surprisingly starting in January. That is quite different from what I'm used to. But Peace P asked that, do you have any plans sort of expanding outside your core market, sort of looking at sort of African countries, developing nations? Is that something you would be interested in?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. And very much to the point that we're just about to release the first multilingual chatbot. So we're training both to speak more languages. So that, I think that will be one major step to make the Differ solution more accessible in different countries. It's even though a lot of students are comfortable of speaking English, but when it comes to making friends, you might want to speak your own language. So that's why we know that engaging with a chatbot in a foreign language is a major barrier. So we're starting now with Spanish, German, Croatian, Greek, and Norwegian. So that's just a start. So that's actually a kind of a fun thing for those of you that speak different languages, is that I think it would probably take 2 hours to translate Bo and train Bo to speak your language. So that might be an outcome of the project here, that we could make Bo available in your language.
So talking about the learning for Bo, can you please tell us who does your product design, coding, and all those stuff with artificial intelligence? Is it you or hired programmers or any freelancers hired or your partners? What is your hiring model, and with coding, with design, and with artificial intelligence? Who just a teacher for Bo?
Yeah. So it has been a partner of me or it is a partner of me who is actually based in Austria, and then we have had a partner company in Ukraine, actually.
Yeah, so cool. Nice to know.
They have helped us with some of the front end development, but I think we will continue with that type of remote organization, and try to build a global organization. Eventually, that would be our vision.
So everything, all processes with coding design, it's outsourcing. Yeah, you don't have some team of programmers sitting in a next office and doing all this stuff.
No.
Cool.
Talking about human resource, there was a question from Dr. Wa's student, and he was asking about how many employees do you have at this time, and are you looking to hire more people? And the fun question is, if so, what will it take to get a job at your company?
Yeah, so it's actually at this point, I'm the only employee here. But we have been working with freelancers and my partner in Austria, but formally I'm the only employee. But it's a long story, but it's been this transition from being a course communication platform to becoming something else, a social platform. It's been a 2-year-long survival phase. Now we're starting to find our space and kind of have evolved. And so actually now is the time where we have started to consider hiring people again. And I actually just started put out an ad now for a global community manager. So a part-time position, and that's for someone that is a great people's person and that has communication skills and perhaps some experience from working in a student union or similar, that kind of understand all the journey that students go through here in the transition to university. Yeah, so someone that is really passionate about student well-being, that would be really cool. Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Differ later. I think we'll share a link to a Differ community where all of you can yeah, download the app and check it out, and start connecting with each other a little bit, and then we'll see how things go now. If you choose to work with Differ case here for the XCulture project, or if picking a different case. But I hope many of you are intrigued by the opportunities here and that you would like to work together here. We're actually going to, I'm taking the chance here to start a student ambassador network. So hopefully we can empower students to become community leaders and learn from each other and yeah, develop themselves. So yeah.
There's a question in the Q&A session.
Yeah.
And the question is about how has transitioning from a course-centering program helped you to create a social setting for students, and what are some of your takeaways?
That's a very interesting question. I think going through that journey really helped us understand some of the current issues with the student experience and some of the challenges that students go through, and kind of what the university see is that, okay, they want active students collaborating with each other, having lively discussions, and they are just wondering why are students not active. And I think what we found out through this journey was that students need to feel safe to be active, and to become safe, you need to have more conversations with your peers and understand that it's a safe space and you are accepted like you are, and everyone is different, and that's great. So I think it gave us some insights that I appreciate.
Thank you, Lars, for all those answers. We are close to the end of our time today, and it seems like we will have an additional Q&A session maybe in the middle of the round. I will contact Lars directly to find out the best time for the Q&A session, when we will have a lot of questions in a FAQ document. So it will be nice to talk with you again. Yeah. Thank you for your time. Dear students, thank you for joining us today. So we will be glad to receive all of your questions via email. Please write to admin@xculture.com, and I will be happy to forward all your questions to Lars. The recording will be available in a webinar schedule document shortly. And welcome to XCulture. Thank you, Lars, and see you soon. Thank you, Veronica and Ruth.
Thank you for all the great questions and the discussions here. I look forward to collaborate.
Yeah, see you soon, guys. Have a nice day, everybody, or nice evening.
All the best for your project.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.